convince yourself you're capable, even if you might physically not be. You're only as powerful as the mind is. Your body can be capable of so many things, but if your mind's telling you you can't do it, you won't. Wake up and tell yourself it's possible. Wake up and tell yourself you can do it. And if you form that as a habit and you wake up every fucking day with a burning passion, determination, and ambition and confidence, it can be done. Turn it into a habit. Do the things necessary to get there. A little step, even if it's 1/4 of a step, is greater than standing on the flat ground, right? Those little steps will add up and you'll keep going up and up and up the steps, even if it's 1/2, even if it's a full step, whatever. Day by day, you will take a step towards greatness. You will take a step towards victory, and the naysayers will be sitting there on the floor and they'll be calling you foolish. They'll be throwing rocks at you the whole way up. But you know what? You endure that pain and you endure that fucking hatred and you accept it and you keep going and you're stoic towards it. You pay it no fucking attention because nothing bothers a hater more than being ignored.
Nothing is permanent. Nothing is permanent. And a lot of times you have to learn to perform without motivation. You have to learn to perform without purpose. You have to learn to perform a lot of different things. And that's what people think. They think I need to have this motivation to work out, to study, to be better. So if they don't have it, they just don't fucking do it. And that's where you fail. You have to learn to train your mind well beyond motivation. If you have motivation, that's great. That's some kindling to the fire. All it takes is a little bit of fucking spark, you can burn a whole forest up. But motivation, you have to learn to exist without it. You have to learn to be, you have to be your best self when you're least motivated. And that's the tricky part about all that shit. Motivation is just a word. You have to have these different things in your mind on where you want to go and know that motivation is not going to get me there. Because I'm not going to always be motivated.
Jocko said the exact same thing. He said that discipline eats motivation for breakfast.
And discipline is good too. But without a clear headspace, there's no discipline.
You let people stick a finger in your face and tell you you're no good. And when things got hard, you started looking for something to blame, like a big shadow. Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, then go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you wanna be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that.
What you most want to be found will be found where you least want to look, essentially. And it's so interesting because it means that if you're willing to turn around and to stand up, say, stand up straight and face the darkness like fully, what you discover at the darkest part is the brightest light.
If you are angry, use it. If you are sad, use it. Because, like, what else are you gonna do with it? Like, you might as well let it help you. Like, or it uses you. You know what I mean? And so I always like to see, when I was in my earlier days, I felt like I was wielding my anger, at least, in a direction. And I think also a lot of people think that they have to get like it right on the first shot. But one of the beliefs that I had was that I just want to be directionally correct. Like, if I move, I know that I don't like this. And so this way is not where I am. And so I will start taking steps this way. And from the story that you at least heard, it's like, I'll ping pong a little bit to try and directionally move that way. And it's funny because Caleb's seen plenty of things from what we do at acquisition.com where we're like, we'll try it out. And if it doesn't work, then we're like, oops. All good.
Do you believe in yourself?
I think that I have a high likelihood of repeating activities that I've done in the past.
I declare that I'm going to go out here and make a difference in my life. I declare that I'm going to go do this cardio that I freaking don't like. I declare that I'm going to eat better. I declare that I'm actually going to look at my wife in the eye and tell her something sweet. Pick up the kids, pet the dog, whatever. Say hello to that one employee that, you know what, typically don't really like them. But today, I'm going to do something different because I'm going to change the pattern. I'm going to change the pattern. I'm going to make it work for me because this life is worth living. So I give myself permission to be great. And I think what happens is by giving yourself permission, other people see that and they get frustrated because they're like, how did he figure it out? Because all I did was answer the call to my own greatness. Your ass is still wondering where the call is coming from. It's already there. Just pick up the phone and say, I accept. When we don't accept that calling, it then goes to somebody else. Someone else got, hey, who's going to pick up that phone? Someone going to get that? Well, it's for you, Phil. No, oh shit, it's for me. If I don't pick it up in time, the way this works, it's going to go to somebody else.
Aim up and maintain your dignity and your integrity, or are you going to take a bad situation and make it into every goddamn nightmare you can possibly imagine? Think, well, of course you have to aim up no matter what happens to you. And you think, well, that's not fair. It's like, well, it's better than the alternative.
Yeah.
And what does fair have to do with it? What's your choice? You're going to dig a deeper pit? Or are you going to have some integrity in the face of life's catastrophe? And I think we know the answer to that, because when you meet people who have integrity in the face of catastrophe, you're struck with admiration for them.
Yeah.
Right. So that's your heart speaking, man. It's like, I don't know how you do it, but I can't help but
being all.
I know I have a friend, a very well-known Canadian, and he got into some business trouble about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and he had a great fortune and a huge business empire, and he lost every bit of it. And then they put him in prison. Right. And he lost everything, and he lost almost all of his friends. And they put him in prison in Florida, in a rough prison. He wrote a book there, and he got 200 people through high school.
Wow.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow. Figure out what you want. Write it down. Figure out what you could do to start moving towards that. Okay. Do that with your family relationships. Do that with your friendships. Do that with your career. Do that with your education. Think about your misuse of alcohol and drugs and other things that might drag you down. If you want to drink, it's like you want to be a bumbling Barney Gumble idiot? Like, you want to drink? Okay, what do you mean by that exactly? How often? How much is too much? How are you going to constrain that, and why? Develop a vision, and you have to do that in dialogue with yourself, right? It's like, if I could have what I wanted, what would satisfy me? And you might think, well, I could never get that. And I could say, well, maybe not, but I'll tell you one thing, man. You can move towards it. And I know that everyone who knows the underlying neuroscience knows this. Almost all the pleasure is in the moving toward. Yeah. So even, you don't want to set up a goal that's so high that there's just no possibility that a schlub like you could ever manage it. But God only knows what your upper limit is, But if you set up a goal that you think is, just on the edge of conceivability, then every time you move even a tiny bit towards that, you're going to think, good work, man, good work. You get a little kick from that. Yeah. You get a little stronger from that.
The pushback you are getting is the indicator that you are doing the right thing. It is. And if you can reframe the distaste that you get from other people as the same as that.
Because they're projecting the things that they know they should be doing that you are doing that they're not doing, and you remind them of that. And so even though the mountain that you're climbing is actually a smaller one than the one that you ultimately want to climb, you're actually at the top of their mountain. And so they start tearing you down. So like, that's where the underdog story that we said at the very beginning of this with the quote, which is like, on the way up, they root for you. And then when you're at the top, they try and tear you down because you remind them of the dreams that they couldn't accomplish, right? And so you quitting drinking, or you staying in to work on your side hustle or your project or the business that you want to launch, or the podcast, you might be at the top of their mountain. And so they are tearing you down because now you remind them that they haven't done it. And it's purely a projection of them onto you and has nothing to do with you.
ignorance in some regards is bliss. As soon as you begin to posit an ideal, you then begin to compare yourself to that ideal. And the gap in potential between you and the person that you could have been begins to get more stark. And even the slightest glimmer of, wow, I can read a book or follow a course or listen to a podcast and then work really, really hard on one thing and change the thermodynamics of my mind, change the texture of my own existence day to day because I worked at a thing. And now I understand nutrition. You know, I know Kung Fu. Like I understand nutrition, or I understand how to sleep well. Okay, as soon as you know that sleep is important and what you need to do it, every single night of bad sleep that you have is on you. Because before you had the excuse that you're ignorant. And guess what? Now you don't.
Every worthwhile goal is worthwhile because it has a cost associated with it. And so the cost that you're going through is what makes the goal worthwhile to begin with. Because if what we're setting out to do were immediately available to you, then it would mean it would be immediately available to everyone, which means it wouldn't be worthwhile. So the very fact that it's difficult is why it is worth doing. And so like, we can't resent the price tag of the shoes that we want to buy. We just have to make the decision of whether or not we want to pay it.
I have a tough time feeling proud of myself.
Yeah?
Yeah. And I just wanted to think about that with you for a couple minutes. Yeah, I just have a really tough time feeling people are always like, you should feel proud of yourself, and it's really tough for me to do that.
Well, pride is a cardinal sin, and there's a reason for that. And there's a reason that pride goes before a fall. And I don't think you should be proud of yourself. I don't think that's the right terminology.
Okay.
And I think that's a place where our culture has really fallen off the rails. It's like, you should be convinced in your heart that you're doing the best you can with what you've been given, right? And hopefully that'll make you less anxious and it'll make you more hopeful. But, you should have the same kind of regard for yourself that you have for someone that you love. And that's not pride. It would be lovely if you could orient your thoughts to yourself so that you could allow yourself to be pleased if you thrived. It's not pride. It's a recognition
say it again.
of.
It would be nice if I
could orient yourself to yourself so you would be pleased if you thrived. You imagine you have a son. Mm-hmm. You want your son to do well.
Oh yeah, I already want him to do well, and he doesn't even exist.
Yeah, well, that's it. Well, that's the attitude you should have towards yourself too. Wake up. It's a life and death game. No one gets out of this. Everyone dies.
As the commander of your life, know what your intent is.
If you were 90% in, or 95% in, or all in,
believe in yourself.
Round it out now. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to set up the foundation so I can enjoy myself later.
I want you to fail, and I want you to get up and do it again. The character that you build, the courage that you develop.
It's so easy to be great nowadays, my friend, because most people are weak.
Tomorrow doesn't work.
If you don't sacrifice for what you want becomes the sacrifice.
The harder the battle, the sweeter the victory. You do it today.
There's going to be days when you're aching and tired and sore, and there's people in your family that are sick, and you're cynical and bitter, and you need a reason to get up, and you think, yeah, well, a little more heaven and a little less hell, maybe I can pull that off today and tomorrow and next week, and that's worth struggling forward for.
It's not over until I win. We want good! We want good!
It's on you.
What do you want to be in life?
Path to achieve failure.
But you gotta be willing to take the hits.
Be conscious of what is creeping into your mind.
What you most want to be found will be found where you least want to look.
Take ownership of your life. You're gonna get hit with opposition and adversity, Doc.
Don't make dreams your fucking master.
Fall down 7 times, get up 8.
That's how winning is done.
The solution to your problem is not going to be found in the problem.
Willingness to be a fool is the precursor to transformation.
Do you know what you want to stand for? You will always just be sitting down.
Are you obsessed?
Nothing changes and nothing changes, man.
It's waking up early and going to bed late and grinding out every second in between.
Life happens for you.
You're just not looking at it enough. Because if you looked at it enough and you didn't shy away and you brought everything you had to bear on it, you'd find that there was more to you than there was to the horror.